Okay, so today we're going to go over classes and races, and I'm going to give you some quick and dirty tips so you don't have to be EverQuest punching bag guy. Okay, back in the day, there really wasn't resources and stuff to pull from, and nowadays you can go on YouTube and you can type whatever you want and you'll get an answer. Well, unfortunately with EQOA, even though it was online for a lot of years, that information never got built up. Most of those sites are either completely wiped off the internet and there's just no resources for new players to get a quick and simple thing with no bullshit. Now, this video might be a little bit controversial because here's the deal. People have a lot of opinions about games like this, about what's best and what's not best and different things like that. I'm going to go over some of that in the end of this video. So if that's an interesting thing to you, stick around for that. But right now, I'm going to go through and I'm going to kind of tell you, if you're a brand new player, some of the easier stuff to go with and some of the harder stuff to go with. And then it is just up to you to put to how much punishment you're willing to take. In the beginning, to learn the game, you might start off with something, and then maybe you'll move into a harder thing later when you finally feel like, okay, you know, like, I get how to play, like, this is easy, like, let's do this. And you might want to challenge yourself more, just like everyone does. You know, you got WoW, and then they wanted hardcore, because they wanted to challenge themselves more, and it's the same with RuneScape and all that. But if you're just wanting to play the game, you want to start out, this is going to help you a lot. So, barbarians. We're going to go in here and we're going to talk about a few things. Barbarians, I would say, are a middle ground, okay? They're not incredibly easy. They're not incredibly hard. I would just give them kind of an in-between. If you play Barbarian, you can get help easier. There are more easy class to get around the map with because of where they start. And we are going to go over the starting areas too after we talk about this on an actual map, and then I'll have the map down below for you guys. And that might help you out a lot. So, the Barbarians, you're a new player, you go in here and you say, oh, they can only be Rogue, Shaman, Warrior. Well, one of the top things that you're going to find is Shaman is going to be like the main things that they are. And here's the thing about their class, okay? Thing about their classes is this. Yeah, they only have 3 classes, but mainly it depends on what kind of person you are. Each of these classes in EQOA, just so we're clear, not all of them are created equally. In fact, there's a very high power range and difficulty to each class, and sometimes different races, for example, have different paths they can go down, which make Barbarian a more suited Shaman. One of those things here is like Rogue, for example. You might say, well, okay, Rogue, and they have these starting stats over here. Well, Barbarians are going to have different starting stats compared to other races. And when you look at these starting stats, you might say, you know, hey, it's pretty nice to have a race that starts in a kind of okay area. You can get help easily if you want to get out of that area and you get to a more populated zones. And there's 2 zones to think about. That's Freeport and High Pass. High Pass is the higher level one. And these guys are kind of situated near that. And it's very easy to just say into chat, like, hey, I need help running coaches. Now, what are coaches? Coaches are the things that you talk to in the game, the people that you talk to in the game, in order to teleport to a new area. So it's your fast travel. In the beginning of every character's life, you can choose to do it naturally, or, like me, you can punish yourself by running all the way across the continent, getting all the coaches that you need, because it does end up making it very easy to progress that character when you already have all the fast points unlocked. You know, that makes sense, right? Now, in general, the big thing with barbarians is that pretty much all races can be warriors, but I would say barbarians are probably like the third best warriors, and they have different racials and stuff, which I'll get into in a different video, because I need to go over all the racials of all of the stuff. The racials are not really going to impact you as much as you would think, like in other games where they have racial passives. And they have racial passives in the game. It's just not very accessible. And they're going to see changes over time. But I feel like racial passives are not a huge factor, but they're not a low factor either. They're nice to have, and different races have different racials. But I am going to make another video, because that needs like 30 minutes by itself, and this needs to be a more concise thing to get you in the game, get you learning. And you can look at all of the racials of any race at level 6 anyway. So you're going to find out what the racials are pretty early on, and you can choose to dip out of it if you don't want it, or if you do want it. Remaking a character is pretty quick in here. It allows you to feel what things are like, get an idea of what your spells are like, and choose to back out if you want to just try something else. So the main things with barbarians is primarily you're going to see a lot of shamans, and you're going to have a lot of people asking for something called Spirit of Wolf. Spirit of the Wolf. Spirit of the Wolf is a buff that shamans can grant, and it makes you run faster. Now, why is that good? Well, if you outrun mobs in this game, you don't get hit. So the really nice thing to do is, especially if you're lower level, is have someone higher level run you to go get your coaches. And if it's a shaman, it's really good, because you can get Spirit of the Wolf, and you can bolt your ass across the continent faster than you even know what to do with. A lot of people used to charge money for this, but this is a private server. People are just different nowadays. You know, like stuff that used to be charged money for. I just feel like we're going to hit this issue with people don't care as much. You know, people aren't as invested yet. We're not going to see a lot of that. We're going to see a lot of people just helping each other. And to be honest, the EverQuest people are very helpful. Okay, so if you ever need something, you go into chat, or you go into the Discord stuff, which I can link for you for the Sandstorm Discord. And if this is your first time watching, I have a guide set up that will help you connect to the server if you're having problems with that. So, Rogue is probably the least popular class on here. I'm not going to go over too many things on the other ones. I will just say Barbarian is kind of middle ground. I'd say 50-50, whether you're really going to hate it or really going to like it. You will like the aesthetics, though. Not every class has really good aesthetics and a really nice starting town. I will say that their starting town is a better starting town, and it gives you a very linear progression. You don't get overwhelmed quite as easy, and you can get help really easy. So think about that. There will be a lot of newer players in that area. The population of the server hit 450. I am very ecstatic about that. And it sounds like a little, but the world is not that big, and it feels like a lot. So now we're going to move on to Dark Elf. Now, Dark Elf is one of the evil races. Evil and good races do not get to go to the same places. And like, if you go to a good aligned city as a Dark Elf, you're going to get attacked. You will be attacked, just straight up. Now, there is stuff called faction in the game, and you can get faction to kind of manipulate stuff. Like, if you want faction with a certain people, you can go kill certain mobs. You'll figure out what those are because you'll get faction when you kill them. They'll show up in the chat. And, you know, you'll raise faction with those people very slowly. Some people are very dedicated to doing that, and some aren't. Just understand, it's a grind. With Dark Elves, you're evil aligned. That means you are welcome in evil cities. You're not welcome in good cities. Neutral cities is, 50-50 because this is a private server. Sometimes the tags are messed up on stuff that will attack you, which is weird, and I've experienced it, but it is what it is. They'll fix it eventually. Bug reports are in all the time. Now, with Dark Elf, they have a lot of classes to pick from, which is why I said I'm not going to get into it too much. But they are, I would say, more balanced class. But I will say this, Shadow Knights for Dark Elves, they have this intelligence stat up here. And I know that the main stats that it's talking about here, it says strength and stamina, right? Well, you would assume, well, okay, so that's where I should put my points. Well, you do not have mana in this game, you have power. Power is directly correlated with your main stats. If you put points in your main stats, you get more mana. And they call it power. It's not mana. You don't get mana by putting it into intelligence. But, say, Shadow Knights, for instance, I want to kind of explain what I meant when I said that different races have different paths they can go on. Shadow Knight, for instance, is one that has spells that are very strong and they hit very hard. And it scales, there's a multiplier based on your intelligence. And it kind of modifies that hit to go way higher. Well, as far as Shadow Knights go, Dark Elves has the best intelligence, which actually helps you with your Shadow Knight casting. It's not about brute strength for them. It's about cunning and guile and being sneaky and stuff. So obviously you would imagine Rogue would be popular. But because of their intelligence and how high it is, they are still good wizards. They're very good at a lot of things that they have. So they're they're high intelligence, and they're pretty decent as being an elf. They're pretty decent with intelligence, agility, and dexterity. Now, are they the strongest people? No. In fact, as far as melee goes, obviously they're a little weaker. But at the same time, their charisma is a little high. It's probably middle of the road, but it just depends. Each of these classes has different paths they can go on, so you'll get choices in this game where your class will deviate. It is not a linear progression. Not everyone winds up at the same point, right? So with different stuff, like I believe the warrior gets a choice of different weapons, different epic weapons, and you have to do the class. You have to do the class quests, and then you will get rewarded, and you'll pick a path. And based on those paths, sometimes they'll give you spells, armor, weapons, and stuff like that makes your class choices very unique. Every single class in here can have different paths, and every different race is uniquely suited sometimes to those paths. With very little exception, to be honest. Now, dwarves. Now, okay, I'm gonna real quick. I forgot to say, There's Dark Elf starting cities. As far as evil classes, evil races go, pretty decent. It's pretty decent. They start off kind of with a straight shot at Freeport, but I'm going to be honest. All of the evil races in the game, I feel like, get a tougher time, because I feel like that the team was trying to balance something, like oh, evil races might be too cool. They might take away from other races or something. I'm not sure what it is. Their aesthetic was just too cool for the time. I don't know. But the good aligned races seem to get a little bit better starting areas. I will say Dark Elf, as far as the evil ones go, pretty decent if you wanted to go that route. Dwarf, 50-50. Dwarves don't get a lot of love, to say the least. They make decent paladins, but they do not make... they make decent warriors and paladins. Cleric, pretty decent. Their starting city is really a weird one. People are very split on that, so I will say 50-50. Essentially, the reason that it's 50-50 is because some people really love it, some people really hate it, but the camera angles are really tight, and you have to see where you're going, and sometimes that's a little difficult in their area. So, I play a dwarf on most of my fantasy games, but even me on EQOA, I tend to not want to because of the issues with their starting area. But their starting area surroundings aren't that bad. But it just depends. If you're doing a dwarf cleric or a dwarf paladin, pretty decent time. It does help to have the self heals and self protection. I would say for a newer player, 50-50. Now, Elf, for a newer player, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Both of their starting cities, depending on what you pick, are very decent. Different classes that elves have, and they have a large variety, actually change where you start. But the two cities are very close to each other, and you will constantly be traveling between each of them. I will say I played a lot of Elf Magician myself. Played a little bit of Enchanter. They are very decent bards, and quite frankly, one of the best rangers in the game. You will almost always see rangers as elves. You'll see a few paladins, and quite frankly, for some reason, you'll see a few wizards. Even though there are certain races that make better wizards, I feel like their starting zone is so unique and so nice and so pleasant. It's so easy to quest. It's so easy to find out where you're going. It's very safe. It's very protected. All of the animals tend to be non-kill on sight. So the evil areas have a lot of kill on sight animals. Kill on sight means when these animals see you, they will attack you no matter what. Most of the animals in the elf area are non-kill on sight. That means that they will not attack you unless you attack them. And it's just a very pleasant... It is such a pleasant place to start. If you were a new player, this would be one of my higher ones that I would tell you to pick. Now, another thing that I'm going to bring up the end is about these stats. So if you're kind of wondering on the stats part, I'm going to tell you at the end because it's controversial. Erudite have one of the best intelligence stats in the entire game. So when you have something that's a primary intelligence stat, like Alchemist, they make very, very great alchemists, enchanters, magicians, necromancers, wizards, especially wizards. Okay. Think intelligent magic users, perfect. Now, again, this is where some stuff deviates, right? Because you will see the odd erudite paladin, and that's because before, when they were doing those quests, sometimes, again, different races are uniquely situated for certain paths on the paladin route, and you will see how that, you'll see it as you play. You'll start noticing people start to filter into certain things by race. Now, I'm going to say this, and this is a big deal. The whole racial aspect of the game, you will notice way less evil races, even though you're evil. If you pick an evil character, for instance, you'll notice that there's just so few of them. Because they have such a hard time, the races kind of have an equilibrium. And you'll notice some classes aren't played as much because certain races are good at stuff. And unfortunately, that also means that you'll get less of those classes played by those races, right? And so sometimes, if you're a player that will just bite the bullet and play the class, you'll get invited to more groups, you'll get more preferential treatment, and you will get a better time. And like if you play Bard, sometimes you'll get preferential treatment. If you play Cleric, one of the classes that's very supporty, while your time on the game might feel brutal, when it comes to grouping, you might get that preferential, very nice treatment. Okay? And same with Druid, Shaman, and Bard. And I'm not sure on Alchemist, but they had... Alchemist came out, this is the newest race, you could say. And when I was playing, it was kind of up in the air. Some people really loved them, some people really hated them. I will say this, Magician, Necromancer, and Enchanter specifically have pets. There are other classes that have pets, but these pets matter way, way, way more than other classes that have pets. Like Shaman gets wolves, I believe, and a wizard gets a familiar. The pets that you get as an enchanter, magician, and necromancer are real combat pets. Now, ranking them is a very difficult thing. Necromancers, for instance, are more dynamic. They're more dynamic. They can steal life. They can give life to their pet to heal them. They're very dynamic. They're almost supporty in a way. They can cast very powerful diseases and debuffs. And with necromancers, there's always a big debate. There's a big debate between who has the strongest permanent pet, magician or necromancer. They have very specific different uses. For instance, magicians get a spellcaster pet, a rogue pet, a tank pet, and then a uh okay, the spellcaster is fire, the tank is earth, and then the rogue is wind, your wind pet, and then I believe water is I'm not sure, but I know that at the end of the day you're going to use your tank pet the most, or your DPS pet. Typically your fire pet is going to be your most powerful pet, because if you're doing the pet build, you're going to go down the pet path of magician, and you're going to get a very powerful demonic fire pet. But you also have a very powerful earth golem creature, and that serves as your tank. It is very up in the air as to between necromancer and magician who has the better pet. Now, there are also pet only groups. This is where 4 magicians, or a mix of like 4 necromancers, 4 magicians, or whatever, or a mix of, 2 magicians, they'll get together and make a pet only group, and they'll farm together. So that is one unique aspect of this game, is your pets are useful, and a lot of games kind of overlook that or downplay them, or they won't be as useful. And here, your pet's very useful. Now, in the third position, whether you put magician as top and necromancer as second, or necromancer at top, enchanter is third in most cases. The thing about enchanter is their permanent pet is weaker than those two. But they have a thing called charm. They can charm anything in the game pretty much within reason. Okay, and you can take over the mind of that, and it will serve you. I do not know whether or not the permanent thing is in the game yet. There used to be a mastery to make it permanent until you log out. So when you log in or log out, like, you have to get a new pet. I don't know how that's going to change on Sandstorm. It's a private server. It's not necessarily 100% complete yet, but it's very nearly. And the thing about Enchanter is that your pet can be a suit of armor, and it's decent. It's very, it's in the game. I know I'm putting it on a 1, 2, 3 rank, but I'm telling you, it's a very serviceable pet. It's just going to be a little bit weaker. Your charm can charm stuff that is disgusting strong, because you can pick whatever you want almost within reason. I do believe Necromancer gets a charm undead, but I'm not sure that that's permanent, and I'm pretty sure it has limitations. With Enchanter, it's pretty much anything in the game that can't resist it or is resistant to it. And I do believe you get a thing at the later stages of your class where it becomes permanent. Now, what does it mean to not be permanent? Well, when you charm something, it's only going to last for a certain amount of time. When that charm pops and the creature that you have enslaved turns back into hitting you, right? Because it's not yours anymore. After you charmed it, like when you charm it, it'll just follow you around like a normal pet. The moment that it pops out of that charm, it is now going to attack you. Typically, what a group will do is not attack it and let you re-charm it. If you're a newer person, you're going to attack it, and it's going to be a whole thing. It's really annoying. But in general, when you have an enchanter that has a charmed, powerful pet, you want to, it's a very good asset. Now, the shaman and the wizard pets are more like little buffs. They're not exactly that strong. They're there, but they're not really like these guys. So I thought I would touch on that just for sake of touching on that while I had you guys here. I really hope people are watching this whole video, because this is mountains of information you're not going to find online, and you're not going to get in game without a lot of punishment. Now, as far as erudite goes, your starting city is 50-50. I'd say leaning harder toward not great. It's not great. It's kind of long-winded setup. It's just not. It's not preferent. It's not good preference. You probably, as a new player, would maybe stay away from them. Even experienced players kind of do. But it's for different reasons. It depends on how interested in pushing the limits of your character you are, or what path you're going on a certain thing. It really depends whether you'd play erudite, but I think it's more for advanced players. Gnome has a very comfortable starting zone. It's pretty easy to navigate. I would lean it closer to good. But they also have the advantage of being able to get out there and get your coaches and get help if needed very easily. Okay. Their starting zone isn't terrible. It's got a linear progression, and what I mean by that is just, again, when you're experiencing stuff and you're killing stuff and you're moving forward in levels, you know, how bad is that experience? Some people have it very bad. They have it pretty decent. And I will say that gnomes are just fun to look at. Let's be honest. And I don't know if anyone needs to know this, but you can play a gnome warrior. And when you play a gnome warrior, it is quite fun. It is literally the most hilarious thing to look at. And sometimes it may even be good. May even be far enough to call good. They have a decent starting area. They have very easy access to help. They're pretty close to Freeport. And I'll talk more about the Freeport and High Pass at the end of this. Halfling has it's a shitty starting area. But the thing is, they're so close to Freeport. But you'll notice something when you play, you're going to see very few halflings. You will mostly see halfling rogues. They're very high dexterity. Halfling druids and rogues. That's mainly what you will see out of this area. I'm just going to say, do not expect to see these guys roaming around that much. Don't expect to see a lot of dwarves. Don't expect to see a whole ton of erudites. And most of the evil races, dark elves, you'll see more than the amount that you think you wouldn't, you will. And as confusing as that statement is, oh well. Their starting area kind of sucks dick, but it is just so close, so unbelievably down the road from Freeport. I would honestly say it's worth it. Even for a new player, it'd be worth it if you want to play a halfling, but there is just something about halflings where the population of halflings is like fucking decimated, dude. There's never that many of them. Here's one of the more the most popular races in the entire game. Right here. So you have these boys. These guys start in Freeport, okay? You have no idea, if you are a new player, you have no idea what a huge, massive, disgusting, absolutely dick-swinging advantage that it is to be a human in this game and get to start in Freeport. You have a very easy linear progression. You get all the way to 20 levels just by walking straight out of your front door, just sauntering. It's very easy to get money, go back, sell, go back, fight, back, sell. Like it you're going to see a shitload of humans. And I know what you're thinking, but what about my min-max? What about those attributes? And I will talk about that. But I want to say this. On the attribute situation, humans have a very balanced, extremely balanced breakfast of attributes. No matter what they go down, it will always be not the best, but man, the amount of struggle that you do not have to go through in your time playing, the amount of hours that you save just by your racial choice, and quite frankly, every single fucking thing that they go is, it may be kind of middle of the road, but in the long run, at the end of the game, it doesn't make a huge bit of difference, but it can, you know? Like, say that you're really, really good at the game, you understand your class so much, you know, those few points might matter to you. But I will say this, you cannot go wrong if you're a new player picking this. It's just like elves. Elves are below this, but this is one of the best new player starting picks. Okay, and that's Human Eastern. When we go to Western, these guys are the monks, bro. These guys are one of the only people who can be monks. And I'm going to tell you right now, their starting zone is nothing like their Eastern brothers. Okay? Now, again, they're very extremely balanced, but they start off in an area, and a little bit of why that matters, just so we're clear, why it matters that your starting area is good is how much time you spend dying and having to run back and do stuff and over and over and over. And the second thing is the coaches that you have available. You're not ever going to just decide to go take every single coach on the map. When you start in an area, you start with certain advantages on the map landscape. Now, what that means and some of the ways that it presents itself is this. For instance, these guys start in Kinos. Kinos is right next to Kinos Prison. That means you will have the distinct advantage when you play a Western human of having some mid-game content that you could say, oh yeah, I already have the coach. I'm already in the zone. I'm ready to go. Sometimes groups do not want to help you go get your coach. They want to group, they want to XP, and they want to progress. They do not have time to wait on you if you say, oh, I don't have that coach. It's like, okay, well, sorry. You know? So really think about when you're entering the game, what you want that experience to look like. And you'll learn a lot of this later on, but certain areas on the map are good for XP, and certain areas on the map are very popular. And when you start close to those kind of areas, you get a certain advantage, especially if you don't have the coaches, and you don't even have to go run them because you started with them, you know? So, Kino's Prison is one of those places that it's just nice to have, and they're so close. But I will say this, with this race specifically, depending on what you pick, you're actually going to have 3 starting zones. Okay? Monk starts in a monastery outside of Kinos, which is totally fine. Most of these classes will start in the Kino City, which is really decent. The Kino starting area isn't bad. It isn't great. It's not bad. And you have a straight shot to the other side of the continent where you could get to Freeport. Now, one of the things is it's easy to get help, but also, again, you have that balanced stat breakfast, I like to call it. You don't really have to worry about much. You're gonna have a decent time. I wouldn't say a fantastic time like you would with like Human, Eastern, and Elf for a new player experience. But I think they're okay. I think they are okay. And that brings us down here to Ogre and Troll. I'm going to go ahead and tell you on both of them, as a new player, you're going to want to stab your fucking eye out. The reason for that is Troll and Ogre are strong. They're very strong races. They have some of the best strength and stamina start stats in the entire game, but they struggle. They struggle with other stats because, you know, they don't have anything besides strength and stamina. So obviously they make decent warriors. They make decent shadow knights. There's not going to be a lot of necromancers that are ogres, but some necromancers, like I said, multiple paths. The high stamina can matter for being a supporty type necromancer. You're not going to see a lot of them, though. Shaman, you will see some, because they are one of the ones that, you know, can play shaman. And it's evil. So, like I said, good Shadow Knight, good warrior, shaman. It's the same with these guys. I think the only one that may end up being like is Necromancer for these guys. The rest of their classes are okay. I still think the best shaman is going to be Barbarian. But, you know, it's up. I guess that can be up for debate because, you know, Barbarians aren't evil, right? So these are evil and they're the only ones that can do the shaman thing. So depends. But I just want to say this for everybody. They are cool looking and they do make the armor look sick, but their starting zones are very hard. You'll have a very hard time, but their racials are pretty decent. So it kind of makes up for it. But it's just a hard time. When you see an ogre, you need to have a lot of respect for that person because they went through a lot to play that class. And the same, honestly, same with trolls. But I just want to take a minute here to talk about the controversial stuff. And, you know, if you want to comment and you can argue with me, and that's fine, I'll respect it and I'll comment and we can have a discussion. I'm going to say this right now. You're going to have a lot of opinions in this game because nothing is on the internet and a lot of people are older and a lot of people have a ton of opinions that either may or may not matter. And I'm going to tell you why most of them don't matter. This is a private server. This is not a one-to-one creation of the original game. This is a private server, and I'm going to explain a little bit about what that means. The people who put this server together are in no way incompetent. They have tried their best. Long days, long hours, very smart people. They have absolutely pieced together thousands of articles on the internet. They've used the Wayback Machine to find websites that are dead. They have tried. They have unencrypted. They have decrypted files. They have tried to get accurate stuff. Everything from, like, you know, what did the traders used to have? You know, like your merchants that you buy from, like what inventory did they used to have? Oh man, okay, so like what was this quest line? Can we recreate the quest line to exactly what was said in each dialogue box? They had to go back and rebuild all that stuff from scratch. Now, what does that mean for what I'm saying? When the game was live, they had certain damage formulas. They had certain ways that the stuff scaled, like the monsters in the world. They don't necessarily have that one for one the same. And what does that mean? It basically means there's a lot of people will tell you what this best and that best and this is the best, and ranking stuff and saying you have to do this. The reality is, I actually don't like it when people say, like, they basically tell you to shut up. Okay, they basically say, if you ask, hey, what's the best warrior, and they'll tell you, just do what feels good. And the reality is, they'll tell you, just do what's fun, just do the thing, just, don't worry about that. And it's like, okay, but you're asking, you want to know. Maybe the fun thing for you is playing the best, is challenging yourself, is trying to make the best build. Maybe that is satisfying. I mean, you have people that play Diablo, you have people that play Path of Exile. What if you're one of those guys? You know what I'm saying? And I think it's demeaning when people look at you and they tell you, just play whatever you feel like. Maybe just pick a race that you like to look at. Like, okay, well, I like to look at that. Anyway, I'm saying that overall, it is very demeaning when someone does that. So I'm going to say this to you, and we're going to have a very frank discussion about this. The race class combinations in this are hard to determine what is the best. Okay? It's very opinion based, and honestly, if someone plays like a bard shaman, barbarian shaman, they are going to be preferential sometimes to that, and they'll say, oh, this is the easiest shaman to play. Okay, and it might be, but the reality is, this is a private server. It's not the same as it used to be. The scaling is different. Maybe the spells have different values on them. We really don't know what all from the original game is the same, so the rankings on here might be a little bit different from the original game. And the reality is, as much as I hate it when people say that, I do think on this game, I think you should just kind of play what feels good, because here's the problem. There's no realistic way with how close everything is. I want you to think of this game like this. Nothing is good. Everything is shit. You need other players. You need other players in your party in most of the stages of the game to really have fun, and that's what this game is about, is interacting with other players, conquering stuff, and having teamwork and camaraderie and all this stuff, and conquering stuff. And it's hard to play solo. Except for like pet classes, maybe the monk. There's like a few things that can play solo-ish, but you'll always find yourself needing other people, okay? So when you talk about what's the best thing, it does matter a little, but in the grand scheme of things, because you get so little stats and you get so little progress to your character, and all characters kind of at the end, no matter what race you pick, are almost equal. There's not a huge emphasis in this game specifically with something that you could just point at and go, wow, that's fucking broken. There's not really that same emphasis, okay? And that's tough to tell people because they're so used to games having this massive like hierarchy and going to a website, looking at tier lists. This game just does not have that. Everything is so nerfed in a way that, like, you want a cleric in your group, right? You want other players in your group. You can't do it all. Every single fucking class combination in this entire game, and this is unpopular, this is controversial, is not a fully complete, massive specimen that people have awe for, okay? Honestly, when you find the right race class combination, you'll feel it, okay? And maybe then you'll say, maybe it's the class, and you'll play a different race, and you'll say, oh, this feels a little bit better. But they get little unique things. All these guys get little unique things. They get different starting zones, and they have just this different experience. And so sometimes when you find yourself sitting there and you say, oh, well, maybe I don't like this game that much. Okay, the reality is, try a different race, try a different class. Something will eventually click inside you, and you'll say, this is fucking awesome. You'll find your thing, and don't put any pressure on yourself to find it fast. Do some testing and see what feels right. And I know that's such a cliche, it's a cliche, condescending answer, but the reality is, in this game specifically, I think it actually, I think it actually, some of that is truthful. That the stuff just, when you compare them, once they hit the end game, and you give them all similar stuff, although not everybody can have similar stuff, when you go different paths on your, even a warrior gets multiple paths, they just won't be the same. They can't, because the game separates those paths pretty heavily. But they won't be far apart in terms of raw power. They'll just be good at different things, or they'll have a different flair to them, or they may be more soloable, and some are more group-oriented, like paladins that are super group-oriented, bards that are like super group-oriented. But I don't want you to get discouraged trying to find the OP thing, because it just, man, that is difficult. And you could say, like, when I'm playing ogre, and then I say, oh, Shadow Knight, that's some good stats. Well, even the Shadow Knight with these amazing stats right here, his intelligence sucks cock. That means with the Shadow Knight, the spells that are actually good, right, with the Shadow Knight, and they're modified by this intelligence, so now you have like a non-caster Shadow Knight. That's actually kind of bad. But at the same time, this balances out, and there's certain paths you can take that make it feel better. So they thought about that. But yeah, there you go. There's your bus driver from 8th grade. And there's an R&B artist from the 90s. I mean, bro, R&B artist turned techno wench, not all females are created equally either. I mean, for instance, but I will say this. I've had some controversial stuff. If you have to make a comment, make the comment. That's fine with me. This guide is mainly for new people. This is very comprehensive stuff. This will save you a lot of time. And next, we're going to go into the actual map, and I'm going to show you real quick kind of what you're looking at, because this is all super important. Okay. I know best graphics, it's worth it. I promise it's worth it. We're going to go in here, and we're going to pull up this map of the actual thing, and we'll have this down below for you. And you can kind of see it for yourself. So here we have the map, and I'm just going to go through, and I'm going to show you kind of what I was talking about in there, because I really want people to understand. So your erudite starts here in Highborn, and you have to progress through here and gain levels before you can really make it out farther. Down here you have The ogre starting area, absolute dog shit. Over here in this corner, where my big fat fucking head is blocking, you have your troll starting area. Okay, well, that troll starting area also kind of dog shit. You make your way up, and you have your Freeport area. This is the really good human starting area. And if you go down this beach, you just get such nice XP, and it just keeps scaling and scaling and scaling. You'll have undead stuff. You'll have so much easy XP. Everyone goes there, trades, do groups. Oh, it's nice. Now, over here, you'll have your gnome starting area in this area. Your dark elf starting area right here. You'll see a lot of them. And then you have your wood elf area right here. Very nice area. And then you'll have your more like paladin and stuff over here start in the main city. And they're just right next to each other. So very, very nice area. Here is the barbarian location. And you go straight down here. And you will eventually hit high pass somewhere in fucking here somewhere. Guys, come on. Don't ruin my streak. Anyway, there's your dwarf area. Sort of got a high pass somewhere in here, dude. Anyway, point is, it's somewhere in there. Oh, high pass hold right here. Right here. But the point is, each person that you start as has different areas that they start in with different key advantages, different ease of access to the map. Here's Kinos. It's the other human area. And I don't know if you see these lines, but these are actually roads. Roads are for honestly, sometimes safe, sometimes not. But down here, it's awful. Anyway, Erudite, Kino's Prison, that's that area I was talking about, that's mid-level. And you actually have Bubble by Water right up here, which is why Bubble by Water. You have your half-elf, or sorry, halfling starting areas. And so, they can make it down to Freeport pretty easy. Some of them have, and why make it to Freeport? What is the big deal about Freeport? Well, it's one of those gathering areas where people like to go and XP and have the easy time, because it just saves so much time in the long run, rather than just staying in your starting area and suffering and not finding groups and only relying on people making the specific race that you are. And you'll notice the areas like dwarves that are really hard to get to places, man, you have less dwarves because of that. You just have less of them. Now, obviously with barbarians, the thing is, with so few shamans, they kind of have to just do it. They have to just bite the bullet and do it, because they don't have any other way to deal with that. Surefall Glade right here is where some humans start. Not the best. These Kinos humans start way up here. Not the best area. The monks actually just start right here outside the city. That's decent. See if there's anything else that I need to talk about. I think I covered all the races. I don't think I'd be missing anything. Because trolls and ogres are way down here. in their little pockets. So I don't think I'm missing anything. If you have questions, I will answer them. I also have a guide that I wrote on how to connect to the server, and I can include that at the bottom. But if you just go to my YouTube, it'll be a video on how to connect. Very easy to get to. But yeah, I just understand that when you're traversing this map, you're going to come across those coaches. I'm just going to give an example. If you start here and you have a coach that's way down the road, you could then teleport directly back to your areas. Now, you also have spirit masters where you can bind your spirit. So you could teleport and then coach back to a turn in. You know, so you go home with your teleport and you take the coach, go back to your turn in the stuff, and save hours and hours of running and almost dying or dying. And it's just a beautifully intricate way to balance being able to traverse the map. And it makes items more valuable or less valuable, depending, through ease of access. And so, yeah, again, if you have any sort of questions, I can answer them. I reply to all comments. And I really hope this was informative and this is helping new players. I realize this is a long video. Maybe I'll make a shorter one. As far as the stats go, I wouldn't worry about it too much. We don't even know if all the stats are fully working as intended, but I believe they are. But at the same time, just new things will come out, new guides will come out, new explanations for things. I'm going to keep making new guides. I reply to all comments. If you have a comment, I will get to it, and I will try to help you as much as I can. And I'll see you guys in the next one.